Welcome back to Fuel for Thought, your weekly look at all things energy related and beyond. Scott Squires here with the insider, Dan McTagg. Dan, lots to talk about. I know you're a busy man and you're on the go, so we're going to try and get this out of the way as quickly as possible. First things first, what's happening with gas prices in this region and across Canada as we get into late April?
Well, we've seen them go up across Canada, so that means it's going to go up here in Atlantic Canada, and it's not going to be a small amount. I'm looking at 6, 7 cents a liter increase, maybe five for PEI, but 6 or 7 for Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Talk about Newfoundland later, but they're going up 7 cents a liter. And of course, the good news is if there be any in this, it's that diesel will be dropping about 2 cents a liter. This is not uncommon. This time of year, we do see diesel drop, and it's not uncommon to see gasoline prices going. But anybody who thinks that fuel prices are going down, they're going to stay down, I think is sadly disappointed.
Dan, you mentioned diesel. I want to ask you real quick. Diesel, not that long ago, was about 50 or 60 cents a liter more than unleaded regular gas. Now they're almost on par. What's happening?
Yeah, well, diesel's is a proxy for the season. In winter times, we know heating oil tends to drive up the price. More diesel is used as engines tend to stay on 24/7, especially in colder weather in northern Canada. So we do see diesel utilization move much higher in the winter, and we see it taper off a little bit in the summer. It's the supply-demand balance here that I think is at play, and we do see diesel prices drop as we are seeing now. They'll likely drop another 10 cents a liter before they bottom out sometime midsummer. And of course, as we head towards September, a long way off, but prices will go right back up for diesel as gasoline will then switch back to the winter blend. And we can't talk much about whether the carbon tax will be reimposed. It's likely that it will be, certainly in terms of an industrial carbon tax, but gasoline isn't going to stay where it is now, and we continue to see over the next several weeks gasoline prices start to move up. These low prices and a strong economy in the United States and around the world means that demand for gasoline will continue to rise. And anybody who's expecting prices to remain where they were at the beginning of the month of April is dreaming Technicolor.
Dan, you mentioned carbon taxes, which has been a big talking point during this campaign and even before. Not that long ago, you and I were talking about the surging conservatives and the big lead they had in the polls, and now it literally has seemed to have flipped back the other way. Dan, you're a longtime politician, an 18-year member of parliament for the Liberal Party. What is going on?
Well, Trump is on the ballot. For some Canadians, they can't. They got Trump derangement syndrome, and that's all that matters. So the problem is going to be after the election when dust settles and you wind up with the same government you've had for the past 10 years, driving the economy into the ground. We can't afford to do this, but we're going to do this, and you're going to pay for it. This is the same group of people who brought in the net zero green policies that have destroyed pipeline building, that has destroyed the ability to see investments coming to Canada to strengthen the value of the Canadian dollar. It's weakened the Canadian dollar. And of course, EV mandates that nobody wants. These companies are going bankrupt. That's the ones that are grifting. We're also seeing an important imposition of various policies, 15-minute cities, banning, natural gas appliances, propane appliances. All those things will become a thing of the past, while advocating things that don't work so well: heat pumps when it comes cold, and of course, electric vehicles when it's cold outside. But we also have to look at the fact that billions have been invested. A lot of that money is going to be, pretty much disappear as a result of many of these companies going bankrupt. And an EV mandate in which my province of Ontario has put all of its future in by ensuring that they thought the United States would have these EV mandates where they impose on people how the kind of vehicles they should drive. The Trump administration doesn't want to have anything to do with that. Those mandates are gone. So are the billions of dollars in jobs lost here in Ontario. So we're heading for some difficult times, because people have been so focused on Donald Trump and not focused on the bottom line and affordability, which should be the issue in this campaign. And for that reason, they're about to, recognize that there is strength in the idea that if you mess around, you make your bed, you damn well lie in it, and you will be for the next 4 years. But don't come complaining, because when it comes to higher prices, remember, many of you voted for it.
Dan, you're a privy councillor, longtime politician, as mentioned, 18 years as a member of parliament for the Liberal Party. And there's no guarantees that whoever takes power will be able to turn things around. But with everything that's being said about Mark Carney and his supporters, he's a great businessman. He's done this. He's gotten things through financial crisis, etc., and on and on. From your perspective, and of course, this is the opinion of one, but I feel it's an important opinion. Why do you feel Mark Carney is the wrong man, the wrong person?
Dangerous man that represents what's happened in the past 10 years, has pushed the net zero program to the point where many economies around the world are walking away from it, especially in Europe. United States, we know it's already walked away. But, Mr. Carney, having said he had something to do with balancing the budget in 1998, I was there. He didn't. He had nothing to do with it. He wasn't even with the government of Canada. Having said that we wouldn't go into a recession and prevent us from winning a recession in 2008, guess what? News alert, we did go into a recession. A guy who took his company, Brookfield, although he was dishonest about it, said he had nothing to do with it. He had everything to do with transferring Brookfield from Toronto to the United States. No wonder Donald Trump likes Mark Carney, but I digress. His policies are very much towards building energy, green energy, which has been proven to be both costly, unreliable, and extraordinarily damaging. He is presiding over a country which will continue down this path of ensuring economic destabilization, while at the same time, I think, creating great pressure on the Federation to maintain its future cohesively. And that concerns me because I think Western Canada is frankly fed up with paying for the rest of the country. In my province of Ontario, it was automotive and steel. Guess what? Those industries are in big, big decline. So if you look at it in the tally of it all, more of the same is only going to mean more pain. And if we haven't made that decision to make that change, and we think this is all about Donald Trump, what I call the Trump derangement syndrome, well, then you're going to pay through the nose of the hose and pretty much everything else. But don't come back and start crying in the next year or so, because you brought this upon yourselves, those who have voted for a restoration of bad governments over the past 10 years under Mark Carney.
Dan, as mentioned, you're a former Liberal. You do say that the Liberal Party of today is not your Liberal Party. I know that you've been out canvassing and door knocking for Conservative candidates in your area. Why do you feel that Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives are the right solution for Canada?
The Conservatives are reminiscent of my Liberal Party of the 90s and 2000s. This is not the Liberal Party that I remembered. It's not a woke green policy, global agenda. This is an agenda that the Conservatives have provided, I think, what is a pragmatic approach, conciliatory approach to try to mend the fences, to get the country working again, to give the next generation hope that they can actually buy things like food and housing. To ensure that we have a generation in which the transition of wealth is done in a seemingly important way that ensures that this next generation does much better than the current generation, as this current generation did much better than the previous generation and the one before that. We're going to see for the first time a generation that is going to be worse off than the previous one. That has a lot to do with people of my generation who made policies for themselves and couldn't be really concerned about what happens down the road. We have a migration policy that is an absolute failure. We have an energy crisis in terms of affordability. We have a food crisis in terms of affordability. And we have what looks like, if I'm a Privy Councillor, the Privy Council office, advice to the Prime Minister and to Cabinet said, guess what? And that people are trying to trivialize this, but they don't write things for kicks and giggles, saying the country is going to face an economic and political future that is most uncertain, and they refer to it as a collapse. So if you're giddy about this idea that elbows up, remember, it'll be wallets out and pants down if you continue to go and reward what has been bad governance for the past 3 elections. We've made mistakes. We can correct them. It's not too late. But if you decide you're going to go vote for more of this next week, don't bother me and don't talk about energy prices or the cost of living over the next 3 years, because you visited this upon yourself and you have no one to blame but yourself. You made your bed. Now you have to lie in it.
It has been stunning to see the turnaround over the last few weeks. Dan, have you ever seen anything like this? And can you think of a time that's been anything like this? And what are your thoughts on what's happening?
Well, the coordination of paid trolls, paid polls, paid influencers have all coalesced. They all have something in common. They grift. They get money from your taxes. We're seeing debt and deficits go out of control. We know the country can't afford this. There is no impetus. There's no sector of the economy that's doing extraordinarily well. Everything is in retreat. And Canadians seem to be oblivious to that and somehow forgotten because they're worried about orange-haired man bad south of the border. Well, you can play that game, and he can play the game too, because he knows full well with Mark Carney and the Liberals, he's going to box their ears off. He knows they're weak. He can't stand up to Conservatives, but he sure as hell can stand up to the recent version of the Liberal Party, which is not anywhere near mine, not a consensus, not a pragmatic party, not a party prepared to put a shoulder to the wheel and say we need to sell more oil and gas to the rest of the world. We need to sell more Canadian manufacturing to the rest of the world. We need to sell more cars, internal combustion engines, not these over glorified golf carts we call EVs at this cost of billions of dollars to taxpayers. The country is sinking, and if people don't clue into that in the next 48, 72, 96 hours, they're going to see a whole lot of pain and a lot of sorrow in this country as a result of their foolish decisions to be led astray by grifters and Pied Pipers who have no interest but lining their own pockets at the expense of an enfeebled and impoverished nation of Canada, which may not survive the next 4 years.
Dan, when you and I talk again next week, the election will be behind us. We will know where things stand in Parliament, who has how many seats, and who's going to govern.
Yeah.
What's your sense on who that's going to be, and do you have an idea of how you feel the seat breakdown may go?
I think there's going to be a surprise here, and it's not going to be the slam dunk that everyone thinks it's going to be for the Liberals. I think, quite frankly, the Conservative vote is very committed. Those who have work, who have employment, who are creating and generating opportunities know full well the damage, especially young people, of what the Mark Carney agenda will be, and are very leery of that. And I think the voter turnout we saw wasn't just about elbows up while our pants are literally down. It was actually about people saying, I've seen the past 10 years, and no matter what distraction you Liberals want to create about Donald Trump and Great Carney and all his credentials, which are meaningless. The man's never had any experience in government. By the way, I worked for Jean Chrétien, had no experience in the private sector, tons in government, and he turned out to be one of the better prime ministers. That aside, I think Canadians are now setting themselves up for major, colossal disappointment, and it won't be just about how it affects you. It's how it's going to affect the future of this country. And I've never seen an election that is more important in my 40 years, 50 years of doing this since 1974. It's 51 years now, if you think about it. I've never seen an election that is far more important, which more is at stake, in which the odds of the country surviving this will not be great if Mark Carney and the Liberals form the government. And, you've been warned. What am I going to do? Spend the next 4 years saying, I told you so, and you refuse to acknowledge this? I don't want to be doing that. So I'm very hopeful that Canadians will, at the last moment, a good number of them, smarten up and get off this spoon feeding of this idea that the United States has got us where we want. They don't. But we have to build out our resources, and we have to ensure that we have pipelines that are filled with oil and gas, not curbed by emissions. And we have to be able to build internal combustion engines and sell a lot more of our wheat. And by the way, if the cost of building things like EVs means that we lose the entire farm sector because of China's retaliation on tariffs on canola and other products is acceptable, I think Canadians better start to recognize we don't just have one confrontation with the United States. We have a major confrontation with China. Wake the hell up, smarten up, because I don't want to be coming back to say, I told you so, fools.
Well, we're going to find out what's happening when you and I do this again next week. The election will be a couple of days behind us. Can't wait to talk to you about that, Dan. We will see what color the country goes. And I know that we just got a minute or so left, but Dan, when you're not hanging out with me here and talking fuel and energy and politics and anything else, where can folks connect you, find you, and what do you got going on?
Affordability.energy.ca. I'm not doing a lot of political stuff on that. I'm actually doing the door knocking. So I'm actually going out and canvassing, but also gaswizard.ca is the two prediction sites for gasoline. I'll continue to try to help people save money, but I hope maybe Liberals who are planning on voting don't really care about energy prices or the cost of living. So I'd ask them not to visit those sites. Everyone else, you're more than welcome to do that.
And maybe a sneak peek, Dan. You were telling me before we started recording that you're recording some videos that maybe folks can look forward to over the next little bit. What can you tell us?
Yeah, look, you're going to get that carbon tax. It's coming right back to you. So I got a lot of material to offer after the election to basically say, if you voted for Carney, get ready for an industrial carbon tax, which will be double what you're paying now. And oh, by the way, because the carbon tax was so damaging over the past few years, next month the interest rates will drop. Why? Because we're going to see interest rates go from 2.4%, probably down to 1.3%. Why? A net decrease of 30 cents a liter year over year, April 24 to April 25. If you don't think that green policies, net zero, and all this other fanaticism, which is embodied in what Mr. Carney is all about, has an impact on your bottom line, Look at what happens after the election when the interest rates drop because he's paused it temporarily. Temporary is the important part here, Scott. The Liberals have every intention of bringing that carbon tax back, and you're going to pay for it because you voted for it.
Well, Dan, appreciate your time as always. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend ahead. And wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, please make sure you get out and vote.
Big time.
Thanks, Dan. We'll look forward to talking to you again next week. We'll know who the
Thanks,
Prime
Scott.
Minister is then.
We will. Take care, my friend.
You too, Dan. Bye bye.